Do you think that your work in philosophy fed into game design at all, or do you think that was kind of a separate direction?
I mean, in one way, it feeds in a kind of negative way, right? I think in philosophy, you're concerned with sort of logic and fact-seeking and truth, and you're reading books, which you never do as a game designer. And in a way, having the kind of creative art that I did at night was kind of a classic pressure release hobby. And I think gradually my sort of philosophical upbringing has kind of bled into my game design work, but I don't think that stops it from being a creative art.
One of the things that I think is prevalent in your work and that really struck me, even playing co-op back in the day before I knew who made it, is that you use frustration as a design tool or almost like a pattern. Coming from interface design, that's a really foreign idea,
right?
Because we're kind of taught to build interfaces that avoid frustration at all costs.
Mm-hmm. There's this community of game designers, not just independent game designers, not just art game designers, but throughout the industry, who see it as a creative art. And they don't think that producing fun is the primary goal. It's very orthodox for game designers to be concerned with software design in the way that software designers are. And that has led to certain orthodoxies like frustration is always bad. Any of these things that we would construct as sort of standing in the way of the function of a piece of software is deemed to be bad in game design. And so as a way of kind of railing against that kind of elimination of frustration and confusion, I try to make games that just do that overtly.
So you're creating like a complete expression.
I want to be able to express myself drawing from a full palette of human experience. I want to be able to explore what frustration is like. Maybe it's richer and more interesting than people have given it credit for. But I also just want to kind of upend this idea that games are software that serves at the pleasure of the player. There's another good example that I think we see a lot of in video games now, where there's like a menu that allows you to choose a different color scheme. It's like they've put together 16 different but tasteful color schemes. And that to me is really strange, right? It would never be the case that you would walk into an art gallery and they'd be like, well, we've got all these different paintings. The artist did 10 variations for you. We want you to pick the one that you want to see.
Sure. Like, I want to see Starry Night at dusk.
Right. Yeah, right. There's a kind of canonical fact about what Starry Night is. And that includes the materials it was made with, all the decisions that were made, the colors, the shapes. And we would never ask the art patron to decide any of those things, right? And yet I go to these games which have like this menu, I now have to decide what color the game is. And immediately I think that changes my relationship to the game in a certain way.
Well, let's start again.